Hey everybody, Steve Schirmer of the Golf Gambling Podcast here with your final thoughts for the 2023 Rocket Mortgage Classic. And it's just me tonight. Boston Capper is tied up. So on my last show, before I go on yet another hiatus for a family situation, this time for a happier occasion, I guess it's just me breaking down the odds board tonight for you guys, which is perfectly fine. I tend to ramble a whole lot too. So maybe it's better just to have just a one-man show tonight doing this. So a couple things we're going to be breaking down tonight. If you haven't seen this show before, first of all, it's fairly new, but I'm going to bring up the weather report, just some final thoughts on that, any potential wave splits, maybe some, if you want to stack your lamps or something, we'll go over that. And then we'll go through the odds board. Just look at what the odds have been doing for these guys on public books and sharp books, who those guys are on, who the public is on. So some other general thoughts. If I would change my betting card, I'm just going to say it right now, based on where the odds are and who's in this field, I would not. I'll just reinforce again, I guess, why I bet certain guys, and we'll go from there. So while we look first at the weather report, here it is from Wind Finder. This is their super forecast, which apparently is more accurate than their regular forecast. And as you can see, we're going to get a little bit of wind on Thursday, 10 to 15 miles per hour from the south, pretty much the entire morning. I can say too that I talked about this in the previous show. Most of the holes at Detroit Golf Club are running north to south. So either these guys are going to have, wind in their face, or they're going to have a tailwind. That is an easier wind to have for these guys. For the most part, all they need to do then is just to adjust for a club at that point. If it's a crosswind, that's where it gives these guys trouble, because they don't really know, how the ball is going to kind of react in the air if they get a gust. But, with downwind, in your face, they should be okay. So, the afternoon seems like it's going to get a little more wind. The sun is also going to come out, and this is a golf course that's received a little bit of rain this week. So definitely Thursday AM will have the advantage. And then on Friday, there isn't as much wind in the morning. They're expecting some showers. Looks like some thunderstorms in the afternoon, probably to soften up that golf course again. So I would probably say, Thursday AM, Friday PM probably has the advantage, because they're going to be playing with a softer golf course here. It's going to dry out for the afternoon guys here, and then they might benefit a little bit, especially if this gets delayed a little bit. They might benefit more from, playing and then getting a softer golf course, even though the wind is slightly up there. But this is a very manageable wind too. Again, they can adjust their clubs based on the wind in their face or downwind. So I would probably say, slight advantage Thursday AM, Friday PM. To be perfectly honest, though, with how shallow this field is, there's a lot of guys who might not even matter with a wave split. We don't really know what they're going to bring to the golf course. So, maybe break ties with some of the more popular players, the bet more established guys. For everybody else, though, if you already make a stand on guys like, Sepp Straka or Hadwin or Hostler, or, your cheap guys down below, I mean, I guess you could break ties with that. But if you've already made a stand with those guys, probably just stick with it and go from there. All right. Why don't we pull that out? And then why don't we actually look at the, let's look at the odds board. So let's pull this up. Here it is from Data Golf. Let's hide Morikawa for a little bit. So here we are. This is where all the odds stand on Data Golf. I love using this tool, especially when it comes out on Monday at 1:30 p.m. They give their projections, and then they just compare basically how the market is. For this exercise, we have a couple public books, FanDuel, DraftKings, BetMGM, and then some sharper books, Circa, BetOnline, BetChris. I noticed that sometimes a lot of this movement over here kind of correlates some movement over here, but there's definitely some golfers we've seen this week that the public is definitely heavily on, and the sharp books, just there isn't really a whole lot of action. So why don't we first start with Ricky Fowler? Not a whole ton of movement over on the public books here, but I will say BetMGM came out today, and through the Action Network, they always talk about handle and tickets and everything like that every Wednesday. This is their biggest liability on the board, is Ricky Fowler. Everybody's betting Ricky Fowler this week. They say 12.7% of the tickets are Ricky Fowler. That's, I think, the only one that's double digits. 15.8% of the handle. Yeah, so it's the biggest liability on the board. And they're not moving any of the odds. I mean, Ricky's odds are already 12-1. I don't see like anybody really, any sharp money, I guess, would hit that to move it. On the sharper books, though, a little bit back and forth. Ricky got support early in the week, all the way down to 10-1 on Bet Online, but all the way, and then just, the following morning, though, back up to 14. Circus seen a little bit of action. Nothing really on Bet Chris, though. I mean, look, like Ricky has a lot of what you're looking for this week. He's added length. He's got high birdie rates, all this stuff and we were waiting for the win. Just gut call. It's not going to come this week. Normally how this stuff plays out, it's usually when we least expect it out of a guy. Maybe FedEx St. Jude. Maybe he pulls a Will Zalatoris, and that's the one where he finally wins. Maybe he goes the Open Championship, has another good finish, comes back, plays the 3M, and has high expectations again, is just awful again. So maybe that's just what happens with him. So maybe we wait a little bit on Ricky Fowler. All right, let's talk about Kyle Morikawa, a guy I have bet, and a guy that seems like is getting some action on some sharp books and some public books too. Started out the week at 18-1. This is the price I got him at the beginning of the week. Right around the time that Bet Online started getting some action in the Morikawa, they changed their price to 14-1. Bet Chris has seen his action going from, just a shade under 18 to about 15-1. Circa has seen him go under 15-1. It started at 18. So people are betting Morikawa. Sharp money is betting Morikawa, and there's been some pushback on Morikawa this week. Can't win a birdie fest, can't win in 30 under. And I understand all of those things. I get the point that the winners here have been bombers. I get the point that guys have shown spike putting weeks. I guess my counter argument to all of those things is, despite his putting woes, he has some of the highest birdie rates in this field because he gives himself so many opportunities, especially from under 150. He is so deadly with those clubs, with those wedges. He's been hitting his irons great. Now, what happened last week, I'm not really sure at the Travelers. Randomly lost a bunch of strokes with his irons in that first round. It was really catastrophic. If you listen to this show last week and watch this video, I was anti-Morikawa for whatever reason on Pete Dye tracks or anything with kind of Pete Dye connections. He just hasn't played all that good. But, you put him on a place like this, I think that's a little more straightforward. He might be a little better. He's got 2 wins on Bent POA services before. He won the Workday Challenge before those greens were ripped up and replaced with bent grass greens. They were Bent POA. He won the Barracuda, which is a Stableford event, which you really just got to make a bunch of birdies. It's very similar to this event. So he's proven he can win an event where you just got to make a bunch of birdies. He won that one. He should have won Kapalua earlier this year, and then he ended up getting to 25 under there. He got to 23 under at the Summit Club, lost by 1 to Rory. A couple other good finishes at Kapalua. He's got a T10 at Silverado. That's a golf course I kind of see a lot in Detroit Golf Club, and I'll talk about another golfer who's been good there in a little bit as support for him. So you definitely can make a case for Morikawa. He has shown that when the winning score requires somebody to go deep into the 20s, which I think is probably going to happen this week, he can definitely be right in the mix. And he's shown signs lately. I think he's really close to breaking out and doing something good. So, and people agree, by the way, especially in some of the sharper books here. He's been bet down. So, I still like him for an outright if you haven't placed a bet on him. If you can find, the best you can find is 16-1 right now. I guess that's where you would go. All right, Tony Finau, not a ton of support this week. People aren't buying the fact that he's going to get a back-to-back winner. And honestly, if, the same can probably be said of Tony Finau, the fact that, as Morikawa. And I guess I can lump Justin Thomas into this conversation too. Looking at his odds. Yeah, public is definitely not on him. He's gotten mixed reviews over on the sharp books, but, if you're talking about Tony Finau and Justin Thomas, you're basically talking about the same player. Justin Thomas finally hit his irons pretty good. He had a good showing last week after kind of struggling for a lot of this season. They're definitely not up to his standards. Finau's irons been struggling a little bit more lately, but still hitting the ball pretty good overall, but struggling with the putter. It definitely goes against a trend of who tends to win this place. I guess if you ask me of the two, who do I like better? I like JT a little better than Finau this week. I think if JT is feeling good, He's better from under 150. He's got higher birdie rates than Finau historically, although Finau's is both very high too. I don't think either is going to win. So I think probably if you want to bet a top 10 on one of them, best price for Finau is plus 175, plus 125 without the dead heat. Wow. BetMGM started plus 275. Somebody mispriced that one. If you want a top 10 on JT too, you get over 2-1. So I think I actually like the JT top 10 a little better. It's a little better price. The best you can find is plus 240 on that. I like that price. So I think of the two, since I like JT a little more, probably a top 10. It's not on my betting card, but if you want to add JT, I think that's the avenue to go there. I don't think either is going to win though. All right, so let's move on. You got Tom Kim here. Again, kind of mixed results. He's been kind of treading water in some of the public books. Started out the week at 18 and 20. That's about where he is right now. He's been getting mixed action so far in some of the sharper books too. Obviously, easier golf course. Tom Kim has won TPC Summerlin before, can make a lot of birdies, showed a little bit last week. I don't know what happened on Saturday. It just kind of got away from him. But maybe that's a guy who can pick up another win when you least expect it. So I'm not on Tom Kim. I thought about the outright with Sungjae, and actually Data Golf likes where he's at on a couple of public books here, 22-1. They have him about 21-1, so technically positive EV. Not a lot of action on the public books. Earlier in the week, Sungjae didn't get a lot of action either, but he's getting a little bit of late action as the week goes on. And look, Sungjae, whatever happened after Korea, I'm not really sure what went down there, but if he is right, he has been in the mix a lot over the last 2 years. I always love seeing that. Really great birdie rates. Good putter. He's shown some spike putting weeks recently. Good bent putter too. So I certainly don't mind that 22-1 outright on him. He's going to win at some point. Why not this week? That's a fine option right there. So Max Homa, this is a guy that I also bet. And he's been getting a little bit of action late in the week on some of the sharper books after kind of getting a little bit ignored in the middle of the week, down to 20-1 on Circa, Bet Online. On BetCris, though, somebody is really betting him a lot, though. Started week close to 24-1, all the way down to 16-1 on BetCris. Not a ton, no action really on DraftKings or BetMGM there. So the reason why I like Max Homa, despite that he's missed 2 straight cuts. Well, I just mentioned Silverado. Both of them have some Robert Trent Jones renovation work into it. Both of them are pretty straightforward. Tree line golf courses, fairly easy. They look very similar just on the overheads there. The greens, I think, are much better at Detroit Golf Club than Silverado, but both of them are also bent POA surfaces. These greens are also a little more POA than bent too. He's been pretty good putting on those surfaces in his career too. He's shown some good spike putting weeks lately too. Putt well, Quail Hollow, putt well, Colonial too. High birdie rates, really good from under 150 as well. I really like Max Homa this week. I still would bet him outright. I was able, if you can find that 20, that's a good price. I was able to boost him up a little bit. DraftKings has a promotion where you can add 3 basis points again. You could put him up to 21-1 on DraftKings like I did. I still really like that play. All right, we got Hideki Matsuyama here. Again, not a ton of action right here. No action on Circa. A little bit of action on Bet Online. I guess the same case. If you like a JT, you like Finau, you probably got to like Hideki too. Hitting the ball, great. Really good from under 150. The putter, though, I think that's just going to be the decider that if he wins or not. But again, we can look at, if you want to look at a top 10 price on him. Yeah, and that's actually been getting a lot of action. It's on some of the public books, nothing really on the sharper books, but started the week at 2-1, DraftKings down to plus 190. Still can find it 2-1 here. Best price available, Bet Online plus 225. And I don't believe Bet Online actually does dead heat either. So that would be somewhere to go. Circa also doesn't do dead heat. That's plus 210. So, maybe even if you want to have a safe floor and do a top 20 on Matsuyama there, I don't love that as much. You got to pay juice. Maybe you get a little bit of plus money here on Bet Online. It's probably top 10 or nothing for Hideki this week for me. All right, who else we got here? Let's go back to the win odds here. I think that covers pretty much all the top players on the top of the board. Let's talk about some other guys who definitely are getting some action this week. Let's start with Ludwig, just everybody's favorite toy. Look at all of this public action right here. Started the week at 45 to 1 DraftKings, bet all the way down to under 40 to 1 on him, which I love Ludwig. I think he's a super duper great player, but he hasn't had a top 10 yet. Is this really the week he's going to win? Some more, I guess, cooler heads on some of the sharper books, although still went down to 33 to 1 from a peak of 41 at Bet Online, down to 39 to 1 after starting the week at 48 here. So listen, people are betting Ludwig, and I love Ludwig, but I think the option for you is probably positional or bust here. So let's see let's be a little more concerned. What's his top 20 price on him? Okay, so you can get plus 235 on Circa for a top 20. Yeah, the public books, these aren't good prices right here. You probably got to look offshore or with some of the other sharper books to get actually decent odds, especially since these are not dead heated. These are just garbage right here. So if you can find these top 20 prices, I think that's definitely worth a stab. But the outright though, I don't think it's Ludwig's time yet. Ben On is a very, very popular bet this week. Started the week at 80 to 1. Data Golf also loves him a lot, and that explains all of this movement right here. Like, if you are more of a casual bettor, you probably have a Data Golf subscription, and you could see immediately when these odds were released, it just pops bright green here. Even, BetMGM, it's still plus EV over here. So, and then it got bet down immediately to about where he is projected at for Data Golf. I mean, there are some red flags for Ben On as far as winning this event. He's just not a very good putter. I think I think you definitely have to factor that in. He's been horrible putting on bent post surfaces. He's good from under 150. He has the length. I understand, the arguments for him. Good birdie rates. He has, I think, a top 10 finish here, but do I think Ben On is going to win at a tournament that, he just has not been putting great lately? I can't really point to a ton of track record for him doing all that great at some easier golf courses. I don't really understand the hype here. I mean, again, if you want to do positional on him, top 20 on Bet On. Where'd he go? Oh God, I lost him. Up here he is. Yeah, even these are under 2 to 1. I don't really like the pricing on Bet On this week. I think if you didn't bet it, I think you missed the boat. I don't think it's his time this week. So, all right. A couple other guys. Who else is on my list? Alex Smalley. Oh God. Alex Smalley is a very popular bet this week. My co-host is on him. Not a lot of action from public books, a little bit of action on some of the sharper books too, but not a whole ton. If you want to make the case for Alex Smalley, he's been much better lately. As my co-host pointed out, the shorter irons have been a little better, at least in the short term. Now that probably only covers maybe 20 shots or so. So that doesn't really tell you a whole lot. Historically with Alex Smalley though, not very good from under 150, not very strong birdie rates, not a good putter. Did not do well here last year. I understand some of the other comp courses I looked at, he's been very good at. Not really feeling Alex Smalley this week. If you bet him outright, that's what it did. Or it is what it is. Austin Eckroat. So he actually is the second biggest liability over on BetMGM. And you can see why. Started with 60 to 1 down to 45 to 1 on BetMGM. Definitely got hit a couple other times on the sharp on the public books, but just like last week, sharp money is all over Bet On as well, or Austin Eckroat too. Got hit a lot this week. Down under 50 to 1 after starting the week close to 61 on BetCris. All the way down to 40 to 1 after starting 55 to 1 on Bet Online. That's despite Data Golf not having very favorable numbers on him. Again, kind of like with Ludwig, I don't think this is the week. I think Austin Eckhart's a good player, but I don't think it's a great price. Probably based on where these numbers are right here, probably positionals aren't great on him either. And he's popular in DFS. It's probably just kind of a stay away for him at that point. Steven Yeager, though, that's a guy I did bet. Let's go back up to him. Data Golf likes where some of his numbers are. 50. You can get him as 55-1 on FanDuel. Not a ton of action on him, just anywhere in general. So I get it. I mean, he's not in the mix a whole lot in his career. I think he's only been within 5 of the lead 5 times over the last 2 years, which is not very strong. I can't really recall a time when he's been in the mix, but I guess what I like about Steven Yeager this week is he's shown a lot of ceiling performances in several different areas over the last month or so with his irons off the tee. He's had some spike putting weeks. Apparently, he had a horrible putting week, I think in round 4 last week because he broke his putter. So he had putt with a wedge. So if he gets his putter back, maybe he can actually, and he's demonstrated some spike putting weeks. I bet Steven Yeager. I still would bet Steven Yeager. I got him 55-1. You can still find that at FanDuel, and close to that in some of the other books here. And then just like rapid fire, some other guys that, gamblers kind of like this week. Let's resort this here. Justin Suh, where are you? People are betting him. Definitely bet on Circa a little bit. Data Golf does not like him though. He's all putting. I mean, yeah, he could probably gain like 10 strokes putting and get a win. I guess that's the case. I mean, Adam Hadwin is definitely somebody I did bet. Getting some late action on some of the other books here too. I do like seeing that. He's been hitting his irons pretty good lately. Really good putter on Bent Poa. He has a 4th place finish here. You can still find 65-1 on him. That's probably worth adding to the card. I like it. Bo Hostler, he's getting a lot of action on public books. Nothing really on the sharper books here. Gordon Sargent is getting a lot of action. I mean, he started the week at 90-1, down to 75-1 here. He got all the way down to close to 50-1 on Circa before. Kind of cooler heads prevail. He's under 50-1 on BetCris. I mean, I think the kid's talented, but I don't think he's winning this event, but he's getting a lot of action. Adam Shank, I considered him hard this week, and a lot of people are betting him. A lot of action on Adam Shank this week, especially at BetMGM. Started the week at 100-1, down to 70-1 there. Got definitely hammered on BetOnline too. I guess what it came down for me with Adam Shank, though, is he is horrible from under 150. Just really, really bad. And his best performances have been Colonial and Valspar, and those were difficult tournaments. I don't think it's going to be Adam Shank week. Maybe Wyndham. Wyndham can play difficult sometimes. Maybe that's where we can get him there. Nick Hardy is getting a lot of action this week on some of the sharper books. I think he's just kind of a darling, down to 75-1 on BetOnline. So if you're looking for maybe a flat, he's still above 100-1 on the public books. If you want to align yourself with some of the sharper books with Nick Hardy for a guy who, has a lot of raw talent, hasn't really ever put it together all that well, you could do that. Mark Hubbard, I think, has gotten some action this week. Yeah, a little bit of late action here on some of the sharper books. He got cut last week, but still in relatively good form. Or you could just do a position on him. I don't mind that play. Thomas Detry got some early action too. I think you got mentioned some of the bigger shows. Started the week 120-1, down to 80-1 on FanDuel, down to 75-1 on BetOnline. He's a darling. He also is a big heartbreaker. That's an option there, I guess. Kevin Yu, this is an example of a player who the public seems to like and the sharps do not. No action on Kevin Yu on Circa or BetOnline. A lot of action on DraftKings. I don't think it's a Kevin Yu week for me either. The lip service to our producer, Carson Young, and he's probably driving all of this action too. He got hit a lot on DraftKings. He's gotten hit a bunch on Circa and BetCris as well. I mean, look, I have a position on him. I have a top 40. I actually found a very good top 40 plus 220. But I've also seen top 40s at like plus 140. I don't love him as much as I think as my producer does. I think he's a good player. Very nice gentleman too. Um, I don't think it's Carson Young week, but I think there's definitely some opportunities with positional. He's been very consistent. So I do like, I think this is a good golf course for Carson as well. So you can be a positional there. And then Akshay, I know I railed on the kid last night. No action on the sharp post. Maybe they also see that Akshay can't do it on anything other than a pass palm surface. And until he does, he's not going to get a whole lot of action. So, all right. Well, that's it. Thanks for watching. Sorry to the guy who doesn't like, I guess, this video. Well, good news for you. I'm going away for about a month. So sorry you didn't enjoy it. I thought my co-host was going to be here. We would have back and forth. So yeah, with that, good luck with all your bets this week. And see you in about a month.